So let me tell you again. Today, I really want to help you guys understand the proper nail structure. We're gonna demonstrate really heavily on acrylic application and of course shaping as well. Because if you apply a good product but you don't have to shape it, you can ruin everything up that you work hard for. So everything is really like important. One step, almost like it's a good setup for the next step. So don't skip out anything. Each step is very important. That's why I'm really break it down from a basic to nail structure all the way to even last step buffing the nail. So it's very important. So before we start, I'm gonna ask you guys to pull up the nail anatomy we provided for you. If you look on my screen, you see here, I have shared with you more in depth of the nail anatomy, but today I could give you just a basic one, just so then easy for you to understand. But I want to give you guys this so then you guys can really look more in depth of what that is, and it's really important, which is page number 3. So can just I'm gonna move quickly on the theories just so we don't waste a lot of time. But I just want to refresh you guys a little bit before we move on, because it's really important when I refer to certain part of the nail anatomy, so you know exactly what we're talking about. Since this is a bigger picture, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so let's just talk about the nail plate. Okay, the nail plate is part of it's a it's made of keratin. It just it's just the area that entire lay on top of the nail bed. Nail bed is under. Okay, a lot of people, when you are watching an educator talk, when they say use a nail bed, is incorrect. It should be nail plate. Nail plate is it's the visible part of the nail that sit right on top of the nail bed. Okay, so next we have luluna. It's like the moon. It's like the half moon at the base of the nail. Okay, and then you see proximal fold. It's part of the skin that is folded over a part of the nail plate. Okay, so it's that part right here. Tiffany, can I see your natural nail so I can show you guys? And it's the skin that folding over. So it's a live tissue skin. Okay, so a lot of people mistaking that. Sometimes you see cuticle. If you push the nail plate gently, all the white area, that's dead living tissue, that's cuticle. Any part of that you can remove, everything else don't. Because if you do it too abrasively, then there's a chance of you cause a little bit injury to the nail, and then anything you do will hurt your client. So that part is very sensitive area. So anything you see that visible white, that's non-living tissue. I'm sorry, that's dead living tissue. So then you can remove that, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, and of course cuticle. That's why I just said it's more like the clear thin layer that shed from eponychium. Eponychium is not cuticle. It's sort of cuticle, but it's not. Eponychium is more living tissue, but it attached near the proximal fold. So that is why if people are not trained properly, you can really damage that area. Your client, maybe one time it's okay, but if you do it over and over, it's really not good for your client. We have to be careful. Okay, so next thing we have the lateral fold. The lateral fold is the skin on the sides. Okay, so we also call it side walls. So basically it's just the fold along the nail plate. All right, and you have the free edge. Free edge is like the end of the natural nail plate. Okay, and of course you have the smile line. So some people have deep smile line and some people don't. You can achieve that. And when you extend the nail or you want to do French, of course you could use paint, you could use gel polish, or you could use acrylic to create a French. All right, so hyponychium is basically if you flip the nail over, you see the skin line where the nail plate is separate from your nail bed. Hyponychium is just a a skin that protruding out the nail bed, okay? And it's there to protect the nail plate, all right? So what else? Okay, so once you have the nail extended, it's called extension edge. Extension because you actually extending the length out, okay? So the end of your extension is called extension edge, okay? When the natural nail, you call free edge. Remember that, okay? On your natural nail, at the end of the nail plate, it's called free edge. But when you extend out the nail, it's called extension edge, okay? So that's the difference. All right, and real quickly on page, I think,
there should be a page. I also want to clarify real quick. There is a page with all your terminology. So as we're going down and doing the definitions, feel free to write that. The terminology page should be page 2. And feel free to just write questions and write down the definitions if you feel free to. You want to say hi to T. Tompkins?
Oh, hi.
I don't
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, I don't think she has her camera on, but we just want to welcome T. Tompkins, we just want to welcome them. Hello, thanks for tuning in. We just started. We are going over the workbook right now, and we just started talking about terminology. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, we'll prompt you guys towards the kind of like within each session. Like if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. I can call on you, or if you feel more comfortable, please put it down in the chat box, and we will get to your question.
Yeah, and all this is recorded, so you can watch over again in the next 30 days. So if you feel like you miss a little bit here and there, I know because like China, you're home. I know you're holding your child and you get a little distracted. So it's okay. That's why we want to provide this video for you later for the next 30 days so you can watch it. Okay, so don't worry. And I'm going to go slow. If you guys have, I'm going to go through each segment, and at the end of it, I will give you guys time to ask me questions as well. All right. So just quickly, I'm going to go through about the nail shape, but of course, we're going to go this over and over again. So don't worry. Part of the nail extension guide, which is on page 7, just quickly, if you could turn to that page, I'm going to go to just a few terminology, just so then you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So when you work on a nail, there's the cuticle right there, right? And there's the apex right there. Apex is just the highest point of the nail, the highest and the strongest point of the nail, okay? And that's where the strength will be. Okay, so you have the upper arch, right? The upper arch is just the arch that starts from proximal fold, all the way to extension edge or to the free edge, all right? All right. And then the lower arch is the extension line, okay, that comes out from a natural side walls, okay. So that's the lower arch, is the line from the natural side all the way to the end, okay. So that's the extension line. Okay. Okay. So let me quickly go through the C curve. C curve naturally, usually in a salon, you only at least required to have at least 20% to 30 or 40%. Competition wise, they absolutely require 50%, depends on the shape. But in a salon, just so you know, it's only 20%. The C curve, what it is as you're looking at the nail right here, right? You see right there, the natural curve of the hairline right there. It gives you that C curve, and you really need it when you build a nail because that will give you strength. Okay, and then if you look at the nail, let me turn my page 2 as well. Okay, if you look at the nail, you see convex and concave. The reason we need to understand that as well, because convex is the exterior contour. The upper arch, don't confuse with that with upper arch. Upper arch is just the arch on top of the nail, but the convex is the whole exterior contour is convex, okay? And concave is the tunnel under the nail, under the nail. So convex is on the contour on top. Concave is the interior contour, which is the tunnel here. Okay, and the hairline is where the convex and concave meet, which is this part right here. Because you need to see that, because when you do the shaping, you need to check your hairline to see both sides is even or not. I'm going to go quickly just on terminology. Of course, when we build the nails, I'm going to repeat all this over again. Okay, guys? Okay, so when you build the nail, there is a difference with short and long nails. With short nails, the apex gonna be slightly different versus the long nails. And we're gonna go over that as well, just for you to know in your head and make sure you get that straight. Is that because I know that when you doing nail, sometimes you get confused. Where do I put the apex? You know, there is a difference when you build a long nail and a short nail. All right. Okay, so all right. Let me stop right there. Anybody have questions? Okay. Lan, chị đang coi nếu mà mấy cái chữ này là mấy cái chữ mà cái cách người Việt Mỹ nó gọi thôi. Nếu mà cái chữ nào mà em hay là Lan chưa có hiểu thì có gì hỏi em nha, đừng có ngại. Ok. Apex là cái đỉnh của cái ngón tay ha. Rồi lúc mình build á, em cho nhấn mạnh á là lúc mình build cái móng mà ngắn á, hoặc là dài á, cái chỗ mà đỉnh cao á, nó khác, có khác biệt. Ok. Lúc mà mình đắp ngón mà ngắn á, thì mình phải biết cái chỗ nào, cái đỉnh nào nó dày, còn cái chỗ nào nó dày lúc mà ngón nó dài thì tí nữa em sẽ đi thêm chi tiết thêm ha. Alright. Okay. So let's just talk about the brush first. When when I'm gonna use the brush, you probably know this. The part of right here is the handle. Okay. This part right here, the metal part right here, the wood part is the handle, and where the metal part is called the ferrule. Okay. And some brush are pinch, some are not, and this is just mainly purely your preference. There's no perfect brush for it. Like there is no perfect brush. It's just whatever you enjoy using. Some people prefer pinch. Some people prefer not pinch. So it just, again, it's matter of preference. I have done both, so it just depends on what I'm doing. But lately, I have to be honest, I love a good pinch brush. All right. So when it's pinched like this, so the tip of the brush is more flat and slightly more oval at the tip. It's very important you have a nice brush where and keep clean while you're using, but the whole part of the brush is called the body or the belly, and of course the side of the brush, they have both sides, and this is where I need you to understand what it is. So then later when I'm using it, I'll tell you, oh, this is what I'm using, the tip of the brush or the belly, which is the body, or the side of the brush. Mainly, that's where it is, okay? All right. Okay, I think I covered everything. Also, the nail zone. This is on page 4. Okay, when you look at the nail zone 1 is where the free edge or the extension part. That's zone 1. Because when you apply the product, I will tell you I'm applying first bead on zone 1, the next bead at zone 2, and the last bead probably zone 3, which is near the cuticle area. So for a shorter nail, it just used mainly at the free edge, okay? But if on a long nail, then you build the first zone is at the extension edge, okay? So zone 2 is mainly the body of the nail, usually at the apex or the stress area at, okay? And zone 3 is, of course, the lower third of near the cuticle area. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? If you guys feel like you have any questions, just again participate and put it on the chat. Tiffany constantly looking at the chat and she will let me know. Okay, I think we good. All right.
Không làm phát rồi.
No, I'm gonna do the demo. All right. Okay, can we move on? All right. So I'm gonna pour out my dabbing dish, and we're gonna let's move on to. I'm gonna show you guys how to pour liquid, so then you don't spill liquid everywhere. And that's I feel like as a pro, especially you do this a lot in front of your clients. You don't want to make it look sloppy. You want to be clean and professional. So the first thing is you always take the brush, and when you pour down, do you guys all know how to start season your brush with a new brush? You guys all know how to do that? Okay. If you let's take one step back. If you have a new brush and before you use it, you don't just take it out the package and use it right away. That's a proper way of starting using a new brush. So the first thing you want to do, take it out from the package. The brush always come in stiff because when the brush is new, the company always put like a white starch to keep all the hair together. So then when they deliver or through packaging, delivering to you, the brush doesn't get ruined because, it's shifting or moving or thrown around. So it's always had a clear, hard starch on the brush. And what you do is take your finger and just break that like a starch off the brush. And you can also use the manicure brush and season it, like just take it off as much as you can. Okay, just take it the powder off as much as you can. Then you take monomer liquid to soften and clean your brush. Always, let me open this. Okay, so always pour your liquid from the ferrule of the brush. Okay, I can see. I always want to pour it like this. That way it doesn't spill and it doesn't get everywhere. Okay, and I suggest you, if you work in a salon, try to use enough liquid for that client only. Don't use your dapping dish and pour fully and use it all day long. Don't do that. The reason is that liquid has is chemical, right? Anything that you have it open and use, it's oxidized with air, right? So then the adhesion is not as good anymore. I always take enough liquid for that client or maybe a little bit extra. Then I clean it with my paper afterward and toss that paper away. You know how you use that paper to work with your brush, clean your brush? I always use this one, clean my brush and clean my monomer and dapping dish, then I toss it away.
Pauline asked, would you use a pump?
You could use a pump.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm not saying it's wrong. I know I have seen a lot of people use it. I just feel like that pump, that surface you use over and over again, to me, it's not sanitary. That's just my preference, okay? I'm not saying it's wrong. If you like to use it, you've been doing it and you're comfortable with it, it's fine. For me, I personally, the reason I like this, I want to show my client that, hey, I'm doing this. I'm taking care of my brush. I'm taking care of my product. And I just designed this just to work on you. So they see it like that, they like it. They know it's clean. And also to maximize the powder and liquid you are using, this is the best way to use it. Discard it after you use it. Okay, Lan, em muốn nhắc là lúc mà đổ liquid á, thì mình đổ lên cái cây cọ thì nó sẽ không có đổ lan ra ngoài cái hũ của mình. Cái nhất mình làm gì? Thứ nhất cho cái nước nó không có lan ra ngoài mà nhìn nó sạch sẽ nữa. Thứ hai nữa là em nói lúc mà mình làm khách á, đừng có dùng cái nước liquid nguyên ngày, làm đổ ra đủ cho mọi người khách đó thôi. Mình làm xong cái mình lấy cái tờ giấy của mình clean cọ sạch sẽ, lấy cái giấy đó chùi sạch hết là mình dục luôn. Tại cái liquid này á, lúc mà đổ ra rồi á, nó sẽ ra ngoài cái không khí ha. Nó cái chất chemical mình cứ xài dài tiếng lâu quá thì cái chất nó giữ chắc á, nó sẽ bay mất đi rồi. Nó không còn giữ chắc nữa. Mà that's why cái cắt đầu mình có thể giữ chắc, đắp nó đẹp lắm. Mà cắt thứ hai, thứ ba cái nó không có còn giữ chắc nữa là tại vì nó ra cái không khí lâu quá rồi. Thứ nhất, thứ hai nữa mình cứ dùng dập tới dập lui á, cái cọ nó có bột á, nó sẽ dính vô cái nước của mình, nó sẽ không có sạch nữa, không có trong nữa thì cái nước với cái cọ của mình không có được sạch thì nó không có bám vô nail chắc nữa. Ha? And queen như vậy. Yeah, tại vì em thấy nhiều người làm cứ bỏ đổ đầy ra xong cứ đã xài nguyên ngày. Đừng có vậy. Làm vậy cái nó sẽ mất cái chất bám chắc vô trong cái liquid của mình, với bột của mình. Okay. So anyone have any more questions about liquid and pouring liquid? Okay, so let's move on to the right ratio. This is really important, okay, guys? I'm gonna demonstrate liquid and I'm gonna take this. All right, so when you use the brush, the first thing, you always wanna season it, clean it, and press it down.
Like,
Get,
do you want people to bring out the stuff?
yeah, if you, well, no, just watch.
Okay.
Just watch first. Have your product with you, but I want you to watch this and pay attention first. Okay. Okay. So the first thing, even I used this brush before, right? I always pour down the liquid and always press down all the hair into my monomer. The reason you do that because once you stop using it, your brush is all tense up and you might have bubble between the hair. So this way, you take all the bubble out, clean your brush, and start fresh. And another reason that I don't want you to use the same liquid throughout the day or 2-3 different clients because every time you use your liquid and powder, once you apply, do the work like the application, there's chance that you have powder on your brush and you already contaminate your liquid. And if you're using 1 client, 2 client, 3 client, imagine by the 5th or the 4th client, you have your liquid is already contaminated with a lot of powder in it. So that's how your brush gonna be stiff and your bead not gonna be as clean and your surface of the application not gonna be smooth because your brush is not clean, your liquid is not clean. So then you can't have a clean bead. Always use enough liquid for 1 client at a time. All right. So once you get all your bubble out, I always wipe once or twice just to get everything out and clean. The next thing I want to go in is submerge all the way in again. And then before I want to pick up any powder, I'm just going to tap lightly half of my brush. Okay. So I'm not going to tap all the way out. Because if you tap all the way out, that means you don't have much left liquid on the brush. You only tap from the half brush down. And you can tap lightly or like a little bit heavier if you want to pick up a smaller bead. And that's it. So just get in the habit, go in, get out the bubble, wipe once or twice out, go back in again and tap lightly, and then picking up the powder. Okay. Okay. Lan, okay. And lúc mà trước khi mình xài cái brush cái cọ là mình lúc nào cũng phải dẹp cái cọ xuống cho nó ra mấy cái bubble hết. Tại lúc mình chưa có xài á, cái cọ của mình nó còn hơi cứng, nó khô rồi. Thì bây giờ mình phải để cho nó ướt và để cho nó bubble nó ra hết. Sau đó mình làm 1-2 lần á, cái mình tap, mình gạt nước nó ra sạch, cái mình bỏ vô lại. Đó mình gạt một nửa. Mình gạt nửa cái cọ thôi chứ đừng có gạt ra hết. Nếu mình gạt ra hết á thì là cái nước nó sẽ ra hết, nó không có giữ cái liquid để mình lấy bột. Nếu mà mình muốn lấy bột ít á thì mình gạt mặn chút xíu, một nửa thôi. Còn mình muốn lấy nhiều nước, lấy cọ lớn á, thì mình gạt nhẹ thôi, chỉ có vậy thôi. Mình cứ tập như vậy thì nó quen tay rồi đó, là mình lấy một cục bead nó đều. Tập riết rồi từ từ cái cục bead nó sẽ đều. Ha. chứ đừng có gạt hết. Tại nhiều lúc em thấy nhiều người gạt hết rồi á, cái mình muốn lấy cốc bự thì lại không được, tại nước liquid nó không còn nằm trong đó nữa. Thôi mình gạt một nửa thôi ha. Alright, alright. So now let me show you how I take a large bead. Okay, it's very important. Can you guys see, honey? Good. Okay, let me set it up so you can see it clearly. So I'm gonna see now. By the time I'm doing this, there's no bubble. That means my brush is good and ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna tap slightly half, and then this is the side that you tap. Don't use on that side. Okay, the side that you tap, keep it on top. The side that you didn't tap, that's where you put it on top of the powder. Okay, let me do that again. So you go in, you tap slightly, you tap light pressure. If you want to take a large bead, if you want to take a smaller bead, then just go slightly heavier. That's it. Okay, so I tap, I place it on the, I go 1, 2, 3, and that's it. You see it's not running. You see that? It's just perfect. It's not running, and it's only lay on one side of the brush, and that's where you want it. And you don't see white powder either. That's when you know you pick up perfect consistency. Okay, let's just say I tap lightly and I only want to take a small bead. Okay, if I type it lightly and I want to take a small bead, all I do, hold my brush up. However you angle your brush is very important as well. When you want to pick up a large bead, you angle your brush more towards you more, because you more contact, more bead, more powder. Less contact, smaller bead. Okay, so let me do that. Tap. If I only want to take a little bit, like that, small bead. You see it? And if I have too much liquid, I can also tap it out. Okay. You guys need to understand this concept. You guys understand that?
Should they take out their stuff yet?
No, just watch mommy first. Okay? Let me do that again. So I tap. I do 1, 2, 3. Large bead. You see no powder. I lay it down like that. And there's no powder. It has enough consistency. And if I want to tap lightly, but I still want a small bead, all I do is hold my brush more straight. Tap like that. And that's it. And then if I feel like too much, I can just tap it out and apply on the so that's how you control your bead. You either lean it more down or stand it a little bit higher, stand it up a little bit more. So more contact from the brush to the powder, that's how you determine the bead as well. Okay, and how you lay down the powder. Let me show you. You guys understand the brush angle as well? Okay, again, the more contact, if you go it like this high, you see the contact from the brush to the powder is very minimal. But if I lay it down more, you see I have more contact with the powder. This pinky, this is where I kind of go like that. And there's no right or wrong. When people, I just kind of like bounce 3 times. Some people like to drag it. That's fine. However you're more comfortable with it. It's just a matter of preference. I find that when people have different method of teaching how to pick up the powder, it's your habit and to me, I like to bounce. Like 1, 2, 3 and pick it up. Some people, they like to drag it. I find that's okay too. But for me, I like to bounce 1, 2, just so then I know if one bounce is one bead, small bead. 2 bounds, more medium bead, and 3 or 4 bounds is more like a large bead. That's just kind of in my head, you know. But again, there is no right or wrong. It's just however you want to do it, make sure you just stay consistent whatever you're doing. Okay. Lan, lúc mà mình lấy bột á, mình gạt một nửa ra gì? Mình mà mình để cái cọ nằm xuống nhiều á thì mình lấy được nhiều bột. Còn mình để cái cọ càng cao á, mình đứng nó càng cao á thì mình lấy ít bột. Chỉ có vậy thôi. Ok. Lúc mà mình gạt một nửa ra rồi mình 1, 2, 3 là cục lớn đó gì? Thì là mình lấy cục lớn đó, là tại vì mình để cái cọ nó nằm xuống. Thì cái cọ mà nó nằm xuống nhiều vô cái bột á thì nó lấy được nhiều bột. Chỉ có vậy thôi. Còn thí dụ lỡ mà mình muốn cục ít á thì mình để cái cọ nó dốc cao lên chút xíu thì cái cọ nó sẽ không có bám vô bột nhiều thì nó lấy ít lại. Thì mình lấy cục nhỏ ít lại. Thì cái cách đó để mình lấy cục nhỏ cục lớn vậy đó. Ha. Để mình tập làm sao mình làm gì nó dễ. Yeah. Tại mình nó dễ, tại vì thí dụ mình lỡ mình cái liquid mình cũng gạt như vậy. Thí dụ mình cứ tập như mình cũng gạt như vậy đi, nhưng mà nếu mà mình để nó nằm á, thì mình lấy cục lớn, còn mình để đứng nó cao chút xíu thì mình lấy cục nhỏ vậy thôi. Còn thí dụ mà mình lấy cục nhỏ mà nó ướt quá thì mình có thể gạt chút xíu nhanh vô cái tờ giấy thì nó thấm cái nước xuống thì cái cọ mình không có còn ướt nữa thì mình đắp lên vẫn còn đẹp. Ha, chỉ có cái cách đó làm cho nó đều, mình cứ tập vậy cho nó đều thôi. Vẫn để đủ nước. Mình lấy lên mà cái cọ cái bột của mình mà nó trắng quá, giống như nó trắng nó không có đủ nước thì nó trắng, có nghĩa là cái cục của mình nó sẽ khô. Ok, so mình cứ tập như vậy á là mình để cái cục mỗi cứ tập vậy là thì cái cục bột của mình nó đều và đủ nước every time, nó không có thành bubble. Bột nó không có đủ ướt á thì nó sẽ bị gãy, dễ lắm. Ok, alright. Anybody have questions? Could we move on? You guys understand the brush angle and everything? I'm gonna show you this more. This is just the beginning. As I'm doing it, I'm gonna go over and over again. All right? Okay, so pressure. All right, let's talk about control and pressure. All right? So how you press, there's few technique when you work on a bead. You either press, you pat, or you wipe it down, or you blending it down. Okay? You pat, you press, or you wipe it, or you blending it out. Okay? And there is pressure and control about it. Okay? So the key here, I'm gonna take a large, right? I'm gonna, all right, let me do it again so I can frame my hair. I'm gonna do it very slow, so don't worry. I'm gonna take a large bead here. I'm gonna press it, place it down. If you feel like you have a large bead, you can release it slowly, like that. Just all you do is take the brush, release it, kind of like just release it down, and let the product go down. And always clean your brush afterwards, and make sure your brush a little bit staying kind of on the wet side, and that's how you work on the acrylic. You see how I just kind of pat and press, and you press it down, you see how it lay out. But if you pat it slowly, you caress it, you see how smooth that is. So the pressure is matter. But a lot of time, you don't really need a lot of pressure. All you do is press, pat it down. If you just want to smooth the surface, use the tip of the brush. But if you want to press it down, use the body of the brush. Hold on. Okay? See how I keep the tip of the brush and press it down. You look at the side view. See how I do it? I know. I'm going to go over it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go each segment again. Okay? All right. Anybody have questions?
Yes, we have a question. And she said, Anne, is the application the same for a color acrylic or should a bead for color acrylic be a bit wet?
Okay, this is where you have to play when you use different company liquid and powder. Even with the same company, their cover pink and their color, let's just say a hot pink, the consistency can change even with the same company. This is why I don't want to give you rules, the same rule for everything. When you work with a different products, you have to play a little bit and find out yourself. Because a lot of time, color powder, it adds more pigment. Because it has more pigment, it's gonna change the consistency of the bead. Like color, it can be wet when you pick it up. It can be wet, but when you lay it on, it dry quicker because just the formula of each company is different. And that's why anytime you want to work on a new product on a client, play it on yourself or practice with the tip first so you understand how it works. When you practice, I highly practice with cover pink or with white. Even with white, there's a difference between nude color and white as well. Because white, it has no pigment. So the consistency can be slightly different. I can tell you between nude powder and white, a lot of time the white powder, it needs a little bit more liquid. Okay? So I cannot give you the correct answer for that because again, I don't know what product you're using. You just have to play it out. But what I'm showing you here is the same technique you can use. Okay, if you pick up the powder, the first or two bead is always a bead for me to understand the product. If I pick up the same way and it's too wet, that means that bead I need to give a little bit less liquid. So that's how you can tell. All you do, if it's too wet, all you do is tap it. That's why I give you the technique, how to correct it when you use it. If it's too wet, tap it down. Okay? If it's too dry, discard that bead. Get another bead. Because you don't want to work on a dry bead. All right? Okay. I'll demo with color powder later as well. But just to show you, here I'm teaching you the technique. Okay? So let's just say you put on a bead. All right, let me set up again. How you release that bead. You have a easier time to release that bead when you have enough consistency, when it's enough liquid and powder. When you have hard time releasing that bead, that means it's too dry. Or when you release that bead and it's running everywhere, obviously it's too wet. Okay? And let me show you one technique. If you feel like you pick up the bead and it's too wet, let me show you how you release it. Okay? If you pick up the bead and it's too wet, let's just say too wet, don't release it right away. Hold on to it for another 3 to 4 seconds. Because as long as I don't release it, it's still polymerized and it's not running. But as soon as I release it, it's going to spread out everywhere. So you want to hold it and just slowly tap it out. Like that.
Yeah, Pauline had asked, at the cuticles, do we use a wet bead or more dry?
Definitely not dry.
Yeah.
When you practice this, do not work really wet. Do not work really dry. Because when it's too wet, it doesn't have enough powder in it, then that means your nail is not strong enough. It might cure later on, but because it's not enough powder, so it's not gonna be cure enough. I mean, it cure, but the powder is not enough there, so the nail could be weak. So always practice enough consistency. And how can you tell? Like I told you, pick up the bead and look at this. Do you look at it? There's no white powder. That's when you know. And then like, again, I already give you technique. If you feel like it's too wet, you can always hold it there for 3 to 4 seconds before you release it. But anytime you release a product and it's not runny for you, then it's dry. But when you can play with it, that means you have enough. Because a lot of time when you clean your brush, you adding a little bit more liquid in here anyways. So it makes more pliable for you to play with. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, let me work on another bead. Okay, so let me show you how you do it around the cuticle area. Because that's one area that I know people have a hard time with. When you work in a small, and in the cuticle area, I want you to work in smaller bead. Okay, let me show you the proper way of building a nail. Let me do this. Okay, I place it there. I always drag it out. Okay, I clean my brush. I tap a little bit monomer. I tap everything out. And then I always use the tip of the brush and blend out my beginning point right there. And you wanted that part thin. And then keep the body of the brush, tap everything in. Pat, pat, pat. You see on the side angle? I'm patting it, everything toward the center. And at the same time, I'm patting that out, and now I press it lightly down. As I'm pressing, I'm also smoothing the surface. When the powder slightly drier, slowly harden, use the body of the brush to press it down if necessary. The tip of the brush is just for smoothing it out. The body of the brush, that's when you have a little bit more pressure. That's when you pat everything out. Always use your brush at 45-degree angle on the sides to pull everything in the center. This is where your brush has a nice convex and a beautiful arch when you're done, because you are smoothing the surface and you're pulling everything towards the center, but you have enough on the side. Okay, essentially, the tip of the application is that you only want a credit card thickness, which is 1.5 millimeter. Okay, and the around, usually it's just 1 millimeter. So you want to press everything towards the center and press. You see how smooth that is? Okay, now and you can see not everything is perfect, but at least you have a smooth application, right? So now let me work on the cuticle. I'm going to take a smaller bead and place it near the cuticle and lightly let it release out. Okay, I clean my brush, use the body of the brush, but more the tip, press it into the cuticle. So what you're doing is use just the tip of the brush and press that. And now, once I clean my brush, I use the tip and the body to press everything out.
Can you answer the question now? What Christina asked earlier. So can you explain more about how to make each side of the nail the same when sculpting?
Okay. It's all depend how you, this is how you do it. You just use 45-degree angle of the brush and just lightly press everything on the side towards the center. So essentially the center has more arch and the product just stay thin enough on the side. And the cuticle area, Okay, let me show you the cuticle side. So essentially what you do with the brush, when you lay the product down, don't touch the cuticle area. Let it down and release that. Take the tip of the brush and just go into almost a hair away from that cuticle. And just press that. And then slowly from there, take the brush, angle it like 30 degrees and slightly pull that back. Because when you prep the nail, you should push the cuticle back so you have a little ledge, right, from the proximate fold and the nail plate. And that fold, this is where your tip of the brush will hit. When you hit that, that means product should not be there, because when you put that product down slightly below the cuticle, and when you hit that, you're blending that, you tip of the brush right at the proximate fold. So you contour that fold and you keep the products behind that tip of the brush and slightly angle it, your brush to 30 degrees, and you pull it, press it out. I'm going to show you more. I know this area, a lot of people had trouble with. I'm going to demo over and over again so you can see it. Okay, so you lay it down, you clean your brush, and then you keep the product behind the brush and you press it down. Once you press that down, have the product contour the cuticle area, and that's when you kind of lay it down. You use the tip of the brush and press it down. Okay, I'm going to show you that again. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, the body. Press it down, release, gently, let it go, clean your brush, always submerge back to the liquid monomer a little bit, and then look at my angle of the brush. I press that tip down, I'm blending it. And you do the same thing with the cuticle as well. And once I've done that, then I go into the body. I press it lightly, make sure both sides go to the powder, go to both sides. You press it. And once you do that, clean the brush again. And this is when you pat it down or you blending it down. So if you feel like that's not enough powder, go take the body of the brush, press it down. Press it down. Okay, and then smooth it out with the tip of the brush. Okay, hold on. And always when you want to clean your extension edge or your free edge, use the upper body of the brush. Because here, you don't have enough strength to keep it straight. Here, you have better strength to keep it straight. Okay, so don't do this. Take the body of the brush, more the upper body of the brush. That's when you have more strength, so you keep it straight. And then you just press everything out. By doing this, first of all, you're blending more evenly. Second, you smooth it out and you push more product lightly towards the center. Okay, all right, let me take a questions. Go ahead.
I think Lane.
Lane, có câu hỏi gì không? Ok, lúc mà em mà lấy cái bột xuống á, lấy cái cọ gì, bỏ cái em nó lấy, thí dụ là mình lấy ha, rồi mình thả nó xuống gì, thì mình thả từ từ nó ra. Ha. Thứ nhất đó mình làm vậy để cho nó cái bột của mình nó đủ nước. Thứ hai nữa mình làm vậy cho nó cũng dễ, để nó có, để mình từ từ mình xếp nó mình cứ để nó lấy cái đầu cọ mình đẩy nó lên chút xíu để cho nó sát cái cuticle. Xong bắt đầu sau đó mình lấy cái mình mình đè nó xuống chút xíu ha, mình đè mình thấy nó vừa được á, mình clean nó, bắt đầu mình quẹt nó cho nó xuống, cho nó nằm xuống. Lúc mà cái cọ nó phải ướt á, thì nó mới dễ kéo cái bột nó xuống. That's why lúc mà em nói á, mình vừa đắp cái cục á là mình thả nó ra là mình clean cái cọ liền. Xong mình lấy tí nước, bắt đầu mình mới đè cái bột nó xuống. Tại cái cọ mình ướt á thì cái bột nó sẽ mướt, còn cái cọ mình mà khô á là cái bột nó dính vô cái cọ thì nó làm cái mặt mà của mình nó sẽ không có được mịn giống vậy. Thả nó xuống, đè nó xuống chút xíu, clean cái cọ, bỏ tí monomer cho nó sạch cái cọ, và bắt đầu từ từ mình đè nó xuống và quét cho nó mịn. Lúc nào cái mặt máu mình cũng phải mịn hết á thì mình đỡ dũa. All right. Okay. Anybody have questions? Let me show you the cuticle one more time. Okay. Let me show you one more time. Let's just say you build out a medium nail, okay? 3 bead. I press down 3 bead. Like that. I clean my brush. Okay, always clean your brush. I always press the tip. You see how I do that? I press that, and then I pull everything into the center. I press it down a little bit. That's it. You don't want to play too much. And after that, clean your brush again. Go back. This is when you pull everything down. When your brush is clean, it's so much easier to work with. And you just pat down, side, side, side. If you press side 2 times here, press 2 times on this side. Try to do evenly so that your bead and your application even. 1 time, 2 times on this side, 2 times on this side. So then it's all even. And if you have more product, too much on the side, use the side of the brush and level that in. Pull that side in and then press it down. Press it. 45-degree angle on the side. And then just pat that. You see how I use the upper part of the brush and keep that edge straight. You can also blend that up. So if you keep practicing and your surface is nice and smooth, you see how less filing you have to do. Okay. Practice with 2 bead. Okay. 2 bead like this. Lúc mà tập 2 cục, một cục ngay chỗ khoảng chừng 75% của cái cọ, một cái ngón trước, rồi còn bao nhiêu là mình để cuticle. Mình cứ tập 2 bead như vậy cho nó quen á, là cái bột nó từ từ nó đều. Đừng có tập nhiều quá, đừng có tập 3-4 cục nhiều quá. Tại mình một cục thì mình chưa có giỏi, đừng có làm một cục. Thực ra không có ai bắt phải everything phải làm một cục hết á. Mình làm cho sao cho nó dễ control mình thôi. Bây giờ mình chưa có làm được nhiều á thì mình chia ra làm 3 hoặc làm 2 như vậy. Mình lấy cục nhỏ trước. Nhưng mà em nghĩ cái này thì cũng dễ, là tại vì một cục mình tập vậy cho mình kéo cái bột nó xuống cho nó quen. Sau đó mình lấy cái cục thứ hai. Ha. So the cuticle area, I clean my brush, add a little bit, clean my brush, go back, I press. Just the tip of the brush. I press to control, and then clean my brush again. And this is when I pull everything. You see that? Once you keep your brush clean, I constantly clean my brush. And if you feel like you need more pressure to press down the powder and blending it, do so with the body. Use the tip to blend out everything. All right. Okay, So let me give you guys a short break of 5 minutes. If you want to practice, that's fine. But I'm going to give everybody just 5 minutes. They want to go to the restroom, get some tea or coffee, and we come back in 5 minutes.